Hello, you'll have to forgive the slightly more humdrum and humble surroundings of my spare bedroom. Mash Media is normally a little bit more professional than this. Normally we'd have a studio and graphics, but no time for frills. I thought I'd just come before you today for a little bit of an update, I suppose, on where I think we are in the industry. Time has sort of made a bit of a fool out of all of us, really. I think it's scarcely believable, but it was, my word, about only a month ago when Mobile World Congress was cancelled and news began filtering through, and a lot of people thought, perhaps myself included, that it was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. Well, here we are a month later, and we're in some sort of dystopian nightmare where we are in lockdown. I know it's not quite the same as going to war in the 40s where you were asked to go and join up to the army or anything like that. We're literally being told to stay at home and watch Netflix. So I suppose it could be worse, but that doesn't mean that there aren't anxieties and worries. COVID-19 really has brought the world to its knees, and I think it's been a stark reminder that when Mother Nature wants to give you a kicking, she will. But I think it's been really important to remember, and I think it's key to reaffirm, that I think the events industry is united in the view that the health, safety and well-being of the public is the number one priority right now. The banning of gatherings is upon us. There are now no events. All reasonable measures should be taken to preserve life. I don't think anyone could argue with that. However, that doesn't mean we should be afraid of having the economic conversation. Our industry, of course, all industries are suffering, but our one has had to shut down in its entirety. And that's a real worry for a lot of people. Despite the government interventions, people will go out of business, and sadly, more people will probably lose their jobs. So event professionals in every corner of the industry and at every stage along the supply chain have been understandably anxious about the cancellations and postponements and whether or not we're even going to be able to fit everything in the second half of 2020. The ramifications of cancellations are well documented. It's going to put people out of business. £70 billion value to the UK is our industry, and it directly employs 700,000 people. That's not to be sniffed at. And then, of course, you think about those people who benefit from the industry indirectly, those working in hospitality, leisure tourism, transport, things like that. Not to mention towns, cities and regions, once industrial manufacturing hubs, who now rely on business events and leisure events and business tourism as their economic backbone. These places matter. They matter to the UK, and we as an industry matter to them. We have given regional Britain confidence in so many ways that I don't think a lot of people fully understand. So the importance of the industry, I don't think really could ever be understated. And that's the interesting thing. We have always struggled with a clear identity in the face of government and certainly the public. The perception's always been weddings and parties and, oh, we're the party people. Nothing could be further from the truth. Meetings, incentive travel, conferences, exhibitions, outdoor events, all these things matter. And I suppose therein lies a potential silver lining. When we emerge from this, maybe our value will be realised. Perhaps that demon will finally be banished. We can hope. You may have seen, well, goodness me, apparently it was last week, but it seems like a lifetime ago. We wrote, I say we, Mash Media's magazines, wrote an open letter to Prime Minister Boris Johnson asking for a little bit more financial assistance for the events industry. We also asked for IR35 to be postponed along with some other associations. We're pleased to say that that has been heeded and IR35 changes have been pushed back a year, and the business that's come the business saving measures that have come out of Westminster have impacted, hopefully for the good, all business rather than just us specifically. But we have worked tirelessly to try and bring our industry to the national agenda. We've been on BBC and LBC and we're fielding calls from newspapers. So it's kind of an interesting time for the industry. It's certainly a defining moment. But it's certainly not one we've undertaken alone. And I'd like to pay a tribute to our trade association colleagues. Now, the trade associations work exceptionally hard all year round for their members. But it's not uncommon when I'm out on the road to hear people give them short shrift. They don't perhaps understand their true value. And I sort of get that to a point, largely because our industry is so diverse, venues and agencies and suppliers doing this, that and the other. There's a lot of different pieces here. So it's not always easy to identify which association will best suit your business needs. Are you hospitality? Mainly venues are. Are you more creative, as perhaps some agencies are, but then a creative agency and a venue finding agency, what do they actually have in common? It's a bit of a smorgasbord of different possibilities. However, I can say with confident endorsement that over the last few weeks, the trade associations that represent all of you have been working ceaselessly hard to try to raise awareness to government and to try and get as much help for you as they possibly can. Now, it could be argued that they had to do the job twice. Before they could actually go out there and shout loud about what they need for the industry, they actually had to justify the industry even existed in the first place. It's a fair point, but these incremental changes over the last few years have really now started to pay off, I think. Government has listened. The public is now more aware. If we had done this 3 years ago, or rather had COVID-19 happened 3 years ago, I think we would be in a really different situation. So the very fact that our trade associations have a seat at the table, that they do have a voice, is testament to a lot of incremental hard work that's taken a long time to get to where we are. And it's really important now that we hold on to what we've got, because when we come back, and we will, we are going to need it. So we're now setting into some sort of temporary normal, which is all a bit weird, which could last a few months, hopefully only a few and no longer. But with the industry kind of on pause, it's customary to think, where are we going? What happens next? And I think we're all going to have a big role to play. And if there's one thing I want everyone to kind of be aware of and remember, it's how we conduct ourselves now, for better or for worse, is how we're going to be remembered. So there's lots of people with lots of fingers in lots of pies, and there's lots of stakeholders here. And there's many different permutations along a business supply chain about how this could go. But are you a venue who could maybe be more flexible with your terms and conditions to release some money back to an organiser so they can get that show on the road? Are you an organiser who's had to suspend contracts with suppliers? Can they have first refusal later? How we all do that, I don't know. But we all do need to be on the same side, because when we come out of this, every other industry will be coming to us, to be relying on events to facilitate the rebuilding, confidence and growth of their own industries. So we are all going to need to be on the same side. There's always going to be that guy, I'm sure, and any petty differences that may exist between businesses or individuals will be just that, petty. So it's really important, more than ever, that we remain united, because when we emerge, we'll have a higher, more galvanised profile, and it will matter more to everyone to conduct themselves properly. The world isn't going to know about us more, so I do urge you all, think about how you're conducting yourselves now, because when we come out the other side, that is how you're going to be remembered. So I'm going to just leave you with a couple of things over the next however long we're trapped in our living rooms. We're going to be updating you with what virtual events are happening, which will hopefully give your staff something to do and maybe even educate you a little bit as well. We're going to be running those on a weekly diary roll call on our website, conference-news.co.uk, and the other Mash Media titles. You should be able to Google those. I'm not going to give them all out now. So do stay in touch. And of course, we're going to want to hear your stories too. How have you been impacted by this crisis? Please do get in touch. You can email me directly on mfullard@mashmedia.net, or if you're seeing this on social media, comment and I'm sure I will pick it up. Anyway, very best of luck, and I will come back to bore you all later.